legislative move in the State General Assembly could bring alcohol to the Dunes National Lakeshore, and a northwest Indiana county is moving a mountain of water to bring relief to a beleaguered Michigan city. These stories and more coming up next on Lakeshore Report.
We're here in Marion, Indiana.
Hello, I'm Kristen Estes, and this is Lakeshore Report.
Opponents of a bill that would allow increased sales and consumption of alcohol in Indiana state parks are asking state senators to vote it down. Dunes Action, a coalition fighting to keep private interests from staking a claim in the Indiana Dunes State Park, says Senate Bill 188 would allow the state to circumvent the normal permitting process. According to Dunes Action, over 500 Northwest Indiana residents came out last year to protest liquor sales in the park, and over 1,200 citizens, public officials, and community leaders signed a petition to the Indiana Alcohol and Tobacco Commission stating their opposition to alcohol's reintroduction. However, approval of the bill would be a boon to the Pavilion Partners LLC project at Indiana Dunes State Park, which aims to open a restaurant and banquet center there. Michigan City Senator Scott Pelath says there's no question where his constituents stand.
My constituents are really angry about it. It's not just about liquor at the dunes, it's about the ongoing notion that our natural resources are something to be exploited rather than enjoyed. We love our lakefront in Northwest Indiana, and we want it to continue to be something that belongs to everyone, is enjoyed by everyone, and is not just a vehicle for somebody's profit idea.
Dunes Action speculates that the DNR may be looking to alcohol sales to make up for funds they are not getting from the Indiana General Assembly. Last week, the Indiana House of Representatives voted unanimously to approve House Bill 1064, authored by Hal Slager of Sherrillville. The bill strengthens the parental rights of mothers who give birth to children conceived in rape. It allows a parent who is a victim of rape to terminate the parent-child relationship between the child and the alleged perpetrator. Representative Slager says terminating that perpetrator-child relationship is definitely in the best interest of the child, and that it's important to emphasize that a child conceived in this way is just as valued as a child who is not.
Well, 1064 empowers rape victims. Right now in the state of Indiana, it's hard to believe, but a rapist can exert parental rights where the mother keeps the child conceived in rape. And with this bill, it allows her the opportunity to eliminate participation of the rapist in the child's life.
The bill is co-authored by Representative Ed Soliday and sponsored by Senator Ed Charbonneau. It moves now to the Senate for consideration. Another Senate bill referred to the Indiana House of Representatives will help some Hoosier adoptees solve the mystery of their own origins. Senate Bill 91 would allow adult adoptees from Indiana's closed records period, 1941 through 1993, access to original birth certificates and adoption records. Jennifer Pedley, an adoption counselor with the Adoption Center for Family Building, tells Lakeshore that in the past, closed adoptions were a way to prevent the stigma of a child being labeled illegitimate. She says that, if signed into the law, the bill would make it easier for adoptees to get passports, state IDs, and access to important personal history.
We really feel like this is a human rights issue for adoptees. I mean, who are adults. We're talking about adults now, who were not given a lot of information about themselves at their adoption time. So, we really believe they have a right to know their heritage, their ethnicity, their culture, their background, and their medical information. That's really important.
SB 91 would still give birth mothers the option to choose non-disclosure or partial disclosure on a case-by-case basis. Last week, the Senate Environmental Affairs Committee passed Senate Bill 366, which would enable communities to eliminate or combine their solid waste management districts. This week, that bill, along with Senate Bill 256, which encourages the recycling of some of solid waste materials, passed in the Senate. Both bills are authored by Senator Rick Niemeyer, who represents Indiana's 6th district, which includes Lowell. Niemeyer says that the two bills will work together to return some control of solid waste management districts back to locals, while also requiring officials to consider the environmental impact of recycling proposals. The bills now move on to the House of Representatives for further consideration. Two bills targeting increased funding for road and infrastructure improvements in the Hoosier State are progressing through the Indiana General Assembly. This week, members of the Indiana House of Representatives voted in favor of Valparaiso State Representative Ed Soliday's bill, HB 1001, which would provide funding to maintain and improve Indiana's roads and bridges. The bill calls for increases in the gas tax and cigarette tax. Not everyone is in favor of a tax increase, particularly when the state currently has a budget surplus.
People are not as convinced that a tax increase on consumers and workers is the right way to go. One, the general perception, and it would be an accurate one, is that the state is already sitting on a pile of money they've already taken from the people. And what many of us hear from our constituents, from voters, is first use the money you've already taken from us in order to address this problem.
Another bill, Senate Bill 333, which is backed by Governor Mike Pence, would transfer reserves from the State Highway Fund and distribute $50 million from the Next Generation Trust Fund. The plan is to provide $1 billion in new state road funding over the next 4 years without raising taxes. That bill now moves to the House for consideration. Residents of LaPorte County are pitching in to help families affected by the water crisis in Flint, Michigan, and they're planning to send a truckload of water to those in need. Project H2O is an effort to unite all LaPorte County schools behind a common goal: to help bring relief to the people of Flint, Michigan, whose water supply has been tainted with lead. Schools in Westville, South Central, Wanata, and La Crosse recently encouraged people to bring cases of water to their cross-county basketball games in exchange for free admission. Project organizers say they plan to drive the truckload of water to Flint next week. Parents, teachers, and students agree that making the effort to help a fellow community is a very good thing.
I was watching a mother washing her 2-year-old infant in a sink using bottled water, and I thought, what a terrible tragedy that they have to go through that. And if there's anything that we would be able to do here in LaPorte County to help them, if it's something as simple as getting some water collected, then by gosh, we're going to do it.
I realize that there's a lot of people out there that are less fortunate, and I know that they've fallen on some hard times, and I feel like this is a good way to show that we care.
Organizers of Project H2O will continue accepting water donations at LaPorte County schools through February 12th. Still to come, Stephen Lattimore takes a field trip with some up-and-coming entrepreneurs, and Michael Puente talks equal rights with someone on the forefront of the state's civil liberties fight. That's all just ahead on Lakeshore Report.
Here is your Lakeshore Community Calendar. The Urban League of Northwest Indiana needs volunteers on Saturday, February 6th at 1 in the afternoon to help load the truck at the Urban League office at 3101 Broadway in Gary with water for the Flint, Michigan community. For more information, call 219-887-9621. The Knights of Columbus are hosting a Las Vegas night on Saturday, February 6th from 6 p.m. to midnight at the St. John the Evangelist School Gym at 9400 Wicker Avenue in St. John. For more information, call 219-365-8912. Deep River Water Park Ice Skating Plaza is open through the last Sunday in February. There is a cost for admission and skate rental. More information, go to deepriverwaterpark.com or call 219-947-7850. Get Lakeshore's full community calendar events list at lakeshorepublicmedia.org.
Young people need lots of support if they're going to be successful. The ASEER Foundation, which helps empower young entrepreneurs, recently took a group of young people on a field trip, hoping to inspire some future leaders. Stephen Lattimore has the story.
How many of you young people out there are the kind of folks who drive by a hospital and say, hey, I wonder what it would be like to be a doctor, a nurse, or another medical profession? Well, the ASEER Foundation is giving young people just that opportunity to get up close with the profession to see if they like it.
Okay, and just relax your arm.
This workshop is giving teens a chance to get hands-on learning about the medical field. It's one of many that the Asir Foundation holds to convince some of these young people to become the doctors and medical professionals of the future. Cardiologist Dr. Andre Artis is a board member for the Asir Foundation.
And believe it or not, I'm a little bit jealous of these kids because they're actually getting to interact with people that would have been outstanding for us to interact with when we were growing up. I look at them, I see my children, and I see other people's children, and I see our future. And so I think that it is our responsibility to reach back and give everyone an opportunity who wishes to do more than what they are doing.
The trainings include taking vital signs, receiving an EKG, and other medical procedures. For some of these students, this is an invaluable opportunity.
The reason I would like to become a cardiologist is because I've had relatives die from heart complications. Instead of being upset over it, I decided I wanted to study it and figure out how the heart works and what makes it pump, what makes it strong, and what makes it weak.
I know that it's a growing emerging field and science industry will always be a job there, and that I'll be able to help people surviving in life. Like, I can create new kidneys, livers, hearts.
Dr. Artis says the program helps solve a major problem in the African American community.
The African American community in particular is considered an underserved community, and we need more physicians, nurses, dentists, healthcare professionals taking care of our patients. One of the interesting things that specifically relates to that is there's been a study that shows that, and this is a study that was published in the New England Journal of Medicine, and it showed that patients who were of African American descent and seen by Caucasian physicians, this is a study is probably about 20 or 30 years old, did not necessarily receive the same treatment that their Caucasian counterparts would receive. So if they had heart disease, they might get an angiogram, they might not get an angiogram. And so we think it's important that we take care of patients in our community as well as other communities, but we certainly want to make sure that our community is well cared for.
Organizers say this program plants the seeds of success for students, and it also tells them, we support you.
You hear about people complain about problems with students and they're not doing this or they're not doing that. And I say, you know what, stop being a part of a problem and be a part of the solution. Our board members are just concerned citizens wanting to make a difference in the lives of our youth. So we came together working with inner city students to see what type of idea do you have and how can we mentor and how can we work with you to bring it into fruition, to take that dream and make it a reality.
So where is the next stop for the Asir Foundation kids? Well, it's right here in downtown Gary. They're going to go to City Hall to see what it's like to be a part of the City Council and the mayor. In Gary, Stephen Lattimore, Lakeshore Report.
Lakeshore Public Media's president and CEO James Muhammad is a board member of the Asir Foundation. State lawmakers in Indianapolis this week killed a bill that would have provided civil rights protections for gays and lesbians. Senate leaders declined to bring the bill to the floor for a debate because it lacks support. Members of Northwest Indiana's LGBT community say lawmakers missed an opportunity to make all Hoosiers feel welcome. Crown Point resident Kelly Dooley sits down with Lakeshore Report's Michael Puente to talk more about what's next for this issue.
Well, thank you, Kristen. Well, Senate Bill 344 would have provided housing and employment discrimination protection for gays, lesbians, and bisexual people, but the bill did not include protections for transgender people, and there were a lot of loopholes for those with religious objections to opt out of following the bill once it became law. But Kelly Dooley, how do you feel about this? You're a gay man. What do you think about all this?
I think that the law should be all-inclusive. I mean, dropping or stepping things in later just opens opportunity for things not to go poorly for everybody, and so it should be all-inclusive.
Now, there was a lot of debate that, you know, the bill actually got out of committee, but once it made it to the entire Senate, that it was pulled, no discussion. That's got to be kind of a downer.
It's a little aggravating to find out that, once again, we're in a situation where the state government has decided not to do anything, and that seems to be a trend. Like, let's wait and see how things pan out.
Now, could you have supported a law that would have been maybe not entirely inclusive, gay, lesbian, bisexual, but not transgender? Or do you think it's a situation where it has to be all or nothing?
It's got to be all or nothing. And there's no reason why it should be happening. In fact, I think I read a small piece about how later that they're going to wait for the court system to decide, and I don't think that's the answer either. We should be progressive about it.
Now there's, a few more weeks left of this session. They have to end by mid-March.
Yeah.
What do you think that needs to be done? They're making it seem like nothing's going to happen until next year. Do you think there's still time for them to, hash it out some more?
Well, at this point, I don't think there's any time for anything. I think they have already set what they're going to do, which was the whole prompting of the non-discussion of this topic.
What does this do for Indiana's reputation? People are saying it's going to get slammed. They got slammed last year during the whole RFRA uproar. You just got back from Florida. Are people talking about how Indiana is not very welcoming?
We've had a little conversation about the state and its inactivity. Instead of being progressive, they're just sitting on the sideline. And do I think there's talk about it? Sure. Last 2 or 3 times now, it's been one black eye after another for Indiana. Needs to change.
Now, about this time last year, of course, there was this uproar. A lot of, the NCAA tournament was coming up. So you had already a lot of people in Indianapolis for this. People were talking boycott. Are you hearing that talk about maybe folks should boycott Indiana businesses so they pressure the state lawmakers to do something?
I personally have not heard this, so I'm not going to attest to it as far as us boycotting, one business or another. I don't feel like it's going to come down to that. I think in the end, the decision will be made with or without the state.
Now, Indiana, of course, as you know, just a couple of years ago, approved gay marriage. Well, it was through the court system, like sort of by default. But a lot of changes over the last couple of years. Do you see maybe this issue still sort of evolving? Eventually we'll get there, or do you think it's going to be a long haul?
I think it's going to take a hammer. It's definitely going to take a hammer to get us moving in the right direction again. Again, I think they're just waiting to see what's going on. But in the end, it's got to happen, and they already know it's got to happen. Nobody wants to pull the trigger.
How do you see attitudes changing? I mean, there was a poll recently done just last fall by Ball State University that says most Hoosiers support civil rights protections for the LGBT community. Are you seeing changes in attitude out there?
Definitely, everybody's a little more relaxed, where before it was a little pensive because nobody knew what was going to happen, and they were worried about things, and everybody's starting to relax a little bit, although the mission is still the same, is to make sure that equal rights for all are inclusive.
What do you do as an individual to sort of change people's mind? Is it just being a good citizen, or do you actually have discussions with people about this?
Okay. I'm so glad you asked. I mean, I'm really business orientated and driven in this community, and so I focus on businesses. One-on-one discussion for me is very successful, as well as some kind of public outlet. But changing one person at a time, if I can change them, they'll change a couple of people. I think there was a commercial about it, and then they'll change a couple, and then it'll change a couple. So just keeping to work, keeping my nose on the grindstone and focus on small changes will create large changes.
Well, Kelly Dooley, you're from Crown Point. I really want to thank you for being here with me on Lakeshore Report.
Thank you so much.
Well, that is all the time we have for, and of course, this is the last Lakeshore Report and for my segment here. So I want to thank a few people in the booth: Kristen, Amanda, Joe, Tom, James, Dan, and Alex. You guys have all been wonderful for me. I'm Michael Puente. We'll see you in the future.
Thanks, Michael. If you like to get your music in a vintage format, you can get your vinyl fix in a place that's already known for its vintage vibe. This week, we get to check out The Vault, the newest addition to the shops at the old Crown Point Courthouse.
You never really appreciate coming up to 31 and to see this big old courthouse. It is the jewel of Crown Point, and we're in it. We're in the jewel of Crown Point. Why not be in the center of everything? We're on street level. It feels a little bit underground. I love the feel of this. Is very similar to the Cavern Club in England where the Beatles played.
We came in and I saw this old bank vault, okay, with a cast iron door and these 4 walls. The name of the vault became pretty obvious because what goes inside a vault? Treasures. This week we have the 1918 Victrola. We've got a 1920s time clock that was used by people in the factory back in the day. We really don't focus on anything per se, on any particular type of years. I mean, we're all across the board. I mean, the teens, some primitives, but the 40s and 50s and Art Deco area period. So when you come here, you're going to see a lot of different things.
What I grew up as a kid listening to records and going to those old record shops here in the region, that was my inspiration, but I've been all over the US and parts of Europe to see how they run their record stores. So I tried to bring all of that together in here and make this the best little record store in the world. The kids who've never heard a Who album or David Bowie, they don't know who they are, and they want to hear that, so we're like curators. In the days of the record shops I would go and visit as a kid, you were stuck with whatever the employees wanted to listen to, and I want the customers, I never liked that. I always thought, you know, if they could just play this record, I really want to hear this song, I've never heard it. And we're able to do that. I have a turntable right here. I always ask customers to play the songs that they want to hear. We want them to pull out the vinyl. We want them to listen. We want them to explore all the music that's been captured on vinyl. We try to keep the cream of the crop here. You know, the best music in every genre that you can find. I'm hoping that the kids here in Crown Point know they have a great place to come hang out, listen to music, hear some music they've never heard before. If they need a turntable, they can come here and find it. Basically, we're a one-stop shop when it comes to music, the t-shirts, the buttons, the stickers, and we're very moderately priced, I think.
We're working really hard to get things off the ground, and everybody just seems to be able to work together, and which is a great thing in business. You have to have the other people that you're working with or other shops all in tune together, because, you know, we really do help each other out. I mean, when somebody comes in to buy some candy, you know, they're going to stumble down the hall and they're going to find out that, you know, there's antiques and there's records and things of that sort. So we're doing the best we can to promote each other. I mean, when I'm out on the street and I'm talking to somebody, I just don't mention that I have an antique shop. I mention that, hey, there's a candy shop here, there's a Dillinger Museum, because you know what, I can't sell everything to everybody. So, you know, if people come in and I can help our fellow vendors out and they can help us out, that's what it's all about. It's a really good community, and I'm really pleased to be here. I'm actually honored to be here. I think once they come down here and they see the history and they take a tour and visit the John Dillinger Museum and some of the other shops that we have here, it's just a beautiful place to come into, and you just kind of feel the history when you're here.
We're nothing without music. You know, we all have our soundtrack to our life, and music is such a personal, you know, thing, and we like to share it and find those cool records, you know, hoping you'll come here and meet us, and we'd love to meet you.
A veteran Northwest Indiana Times reporter has a new gig with a region theatrical venue, and he can't wait to tell us what's coming up in 2016. John Kane talks to Phil Potempa on this week's Eye on the Arts.
Hi, joining me for this edition of Eye on the Arts is Phil Potempa, Marketing Director for Theater at the Center for Visual and Performing Arts in Munster. Hi, Phil.
Hello.
So welcome to your new gig.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And welcome to Eye on the Arts. So 39 Steps, this is the beginning of a new calendar year season for the theater.
Correct, exactly. It's an exciting production, and the run starts February the 18th, and it goes until March the 20th, and yeah, it's definitely going to be a lot of fun for audience and something fresh and new.
I know it's been running on Broadway forever.
That's right. We had a national tour that came through with the Broadway run, probably about 2 or 3 years ago, but for us and our audiences in this area, this is brand new.
Yeah. I've seen the movie a few times and love it. And of course, it's Hitchcock.
That's right.
So what's exciting about this production that on the stage versus in the movie?
Well, we love that it's called Alfred Hitchcock's The 39 Steps, because it is based on his 1935 movie that he directed, but they've kind of given it a different spin. It's fresh and funny. So it's madcap, but it's murder, it's mystery. It's a leading man and a femme fatale making their way through a lot of situations when he finds himself in the middle of a murder that's unraveling. So a lot of excitement that comes along the way.
And what's so all of this is manifested through the cast, for one thing, and this set design, I would imagine.
Correct. And what's unique is it's a very, very small, intimate cast. So we have a cast of 4, and this cast of 4 then will portray more than 150 roles. So quick
that's
changes
amazing.
in and out of costumes and in and out of roles. And audiences will find that we have a couple of our regular favorites and actors and actresses, such as Linda Gillum was in A Christmas Story run over the holidays. She played Ralphie's mom. Norm Boucher a year ago was on Golden Pond, but we have some new favorites as well, including Matt Mueller, who has not ever been on our stage. And he's special because his sisters are right now on Broadway. We have Jessie Mueller, who won the Tony for Carole King's beautiful musical, and then his twin sister, Matt's twin sister, Abby, is in Chicago right now for the National Broadway Tour. So we're lucky to have Matt there at our stage, joined by also Kevin McGillip as our 4th cast member.
And is his twin sister playing Carole King in Chicago?
In Chicago right now, yeah. So a lot of talent there.
Yeah, very accomplished theatrical family.
Yes.
That's great. So what else is Theater at the Center doing this season?
Well, we have an excited season. It unfolds with 39 steps, and then after that, we move on to a great big musical, Gershwin's Nice Work If You Can Get It. So that's our May and June musical. Go into the summer with Neil Simon's The Odd Couple. Everybody loves that fun comedy, and that takes us for July and August. We move into the fall with Pump Boys and the Dinettes, which is a lot of fun with diner country music. And then we cap with Annie Warbucks for our big holiday Christmas musical, so that'll be fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun shows.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. And then, of course, you have special events throughout the year as well.
That's right. We always want to remind that we sandwich in our headliner events as well. So for St. Patrick's Day, we have Irish music with Switchback, and also you can have a wonderful corned beef and cabbage dinner for dinner and a show if you'd like, and that's on St. Patrick's Day. And then in April, we welcome master musician Dennis Watkins, who's from Chicago and made the rounds on our stage for 3 performances in April. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Okay, well, good. Thank you for being here to tell us about it, Phil.
Thank you, John.
And thank you for watching. Stay tuned for another edition of Eye on the Arts. Eye on the Arts is made possible in part by South Shore Arts, the Indiana Arts Commission, and the National Endowment for the Arts, a federal agency.
And for more information on this or any of our stories, you can go to lakeshorepublicmedia.org. I'm Kristen Estes on behalf of Stephen Lattimore, Amanda Forrester, Joe Jariga, and the entire team. I'd like to thank you so much for joining us on Lakeshore Report.